from the last 90 cold emails I sent, I got 3 new clients from that.
Wow.
And I think I got like 6 or 7 looms. And then from those looms, I think I had 4 or 5 meetings, and then that converted into 3 clients. And it doesn't take that long. Like, yes, it's a lot longer than me having a template and just blasting out that template, but the conversion rate is so much higher. And especially if it's like you always talk about, to choose a niche that you're passionate about, so that way you have common ground to talk about in that industry too.
100%. That's so important. Like, so many people like, oh, Jordan, what's the best niche? Like, what's the most profitable niche? And it literally is not. The best niche is the one that you're interested in. So you can actually talk about it and not just be like, oh God, here we go again. Let me just reach out to this person, say something I don't care about. Like, do something you're passionate about. If you're into skiing, reach out to skiing equipment companies. If you like golf, do that. If you have loads of pets, then reach out to pets. Whatever your thing is, you should follow that passion, because we have to be interested in what we're doing. We have to enjoy it. What's up, guys? Jordan here. Today we are joined by a special guest, Jay from Social Gorilla. He joined the Affluent Academy actually 2 months ago and went from a couple of clients to now a 6-figure agency. He has absolutely smashed it, and he's done a couple of things incredibly well, if I may say so. And we're going to reveal them later on today. I can't wait to jump into this. This is going to be a mega valuable interview for you. So Jay, firstly, thank you so much for being here today, mate. The way we like to start this is normally with a bit of a backstory. So if people could know a little bit about you, where you kind of came from, what you were doing before social media marketing, and what brought you up to actually wanting to start an agency.
Choice. Just want to start off by saying thanks for having me on the YouTube, by the way, Jordan, on the show. Really appreciate it. Started watching these a while ago. I never thought I'd get to this position where I'll be one of the interviewees. So thanks for that.
Love it.
So I've been nearly everything in between that you could imagine. You know, I've worked on a strawberry farm. I've worked in a honey factory. I was a drain jetter and used to clean pipes once upon a time. I worked at a petrol station. I kind of like scattered around and bounced from job to job a lot after I finished high school, because I didn't really have a set direction and where I wanted to take my life. I ended up taking a commission-only job for sales out of sheer desperation, because I needed to pay my bills at the time. I was living in a tiny apartment, probably like a shoebox, basically, for $400 a week. And I was like, I need to get some money in. So I started doing door-to-door sales. So I worked for a charity that we basically sold people like little knickknacks and things for charity, and would get 30% of the cut for that. And I loved it. I loved everything about sales. I loved the fact that, you know, at the end of the week, the high performers would all go out and have a great time together. Or if you're a loser, you had to eat dry wheat bix. I don't know if you guys have wheat bix over in the UK, but they're like these dry, crusty, like kind of like bran cereal.
Well, actually eats dry Weetabix.
Yeah, you had to eat dry wheat bix with wasabi on it if you're the lowest performer of the week. And it used to just like, I think I was there once and I vowed never again, as like tears were coming out of my eyes and like wasabi.
I'm never going to be in this position again.
And then I got tired of being rained on constantly in the winter, because the winters in New Zealand are shocking, man. Nothing like on the background here. And it was... I was pouring down with the rain, and this lovely old lady invited me inside for a cup of tea. And I just told myself, I don't want to do this ever again. So I looked again, but I wanted to stay in sales. I found a cold calling role for telecom, which is now called Spark at this time. And I found out that I had quite a passion for cold calling as well. Within the first 2 months there, I ended up setting a record for most cold call sales in 1 month as well for Spark in all of New Zealand. So I was super stoked about that one. And from there, I moved to this thing called Yellow, also once upon a time known as Yellow Pages. Do you guys have that?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to sell advertising slots inside of these books. So I started with that, and then we also started learning about digital marketing and things from there as well. And I sold Google AdWords and I sold some Facebook ads and things like that, but I never really had the fulfillment side of things. And then fast forward to last year, and COVID happened, and New Zealand went into lockdown, and I spent all of this time kind of crammed inside of another little shoebox apartment, believe it or not, living by myself in there for lockdown for like 6 weeks, I think it was. And I just started trying to rack my brain of what I wanted to do. And I thought drop shipping was going to be the answer. So I started learning all I could about drop shipping. And then I found out about social media marketing as a way to, make sure that your drop shipping takes off, market your products. And that's where I found your content. And I kind of just snowballed from there and started learning and getting a passion for social media marketing. And I actually never ended up fulfilling the drop ship side of things. I just ran with my agency instead.
Nice, man. That's cool. Like it's interesting your transition through the sales jobs as well. It sounds similar to kind of my background and how I found things in sales. What would you say? Like you started off in door to door, and actually interestingly that we had, it's very big in the UK as well, the charity door to door thing. What would you say were some of the biggest lessons you learned from doing door to door? Because I imagine that put you in a really difficult position.
Oh, yeah. Well, to be honest, I used to suffer a lot with like anxiety and things like that, especially in like large social settings, or just having the ball on me, all eyes on me kind of scenario. And it helped me push through that. Like I got to the point where I guess it's just, my boss used to say it was like water off a duck's back when it came to someone slamming the door in my face or anything like that. Just roll off and you go to the next one and just keep going from there. So I think mental fortitude and just learning that like it's okay to feel nervous or sometimes excited, because you can't tell the difference because they're one and the same half the time, and just learning to work through that and just keep on pushing through, I guess, were some of the biggest things. And the worst thing that's going to happen is someone's going to say no.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you can never underestimate us people who have been fortunate to have been in sales before we started an agency. Like we can't underestimate how lucky we are, or just, I'm not lucky, I'm not a massive fan of the word lucky, I like fortunate. We're fortunate to have come in from that position and actually be preconditioned to be able to take failures and rejections. Because a lot of people, when we're in a sales-based job, like we can't just quit. Well, we can, but then we lose all of our income. And so we've kind of got a bit of security behind us, but we've also got pressure that we need to hit targets. So when we get back and we wake up the next day, we can't choose to just not do any more sales or choose to not make any more calls. So we kind of are forced into resilience over time because it's our job to do so. But a lot of people who start an agency, they don't necessarily have that. So it's like, and they're not forced into making sales as well. So if they have a really bad day on outreach, then they'll stop doing that outreach because they haven't got that forced resilience. So we are fortunate to have had that before walking into agency. And it speaks in numbers because you have scaled your business, albeit within the last couple of months, changing your strategy exponentially, and it's not looking like it's going to let off anytime soon. So what do you think are like what was the pivotal point? Because you launched your agency in lockdown last year. What was like the pivotal thing that kind of started to change things in the agency for you to be able to actually scale that to where it is today?
I think one of the biggest things that like really shifted, not just like, I guess my mindset and my business were the biggest things there. I ended up going through a mentorship program with you aside from the Affluent Academy, and you gave me a lot of tools that helped me just kind of realize that there's a different way to do things. Cause like I've always known, like I'm all right at sales. I know how to connect with people, but the lead gen, for example, I used to sink so much time into getting low quality leads compared to the fact that now I just outsource that to someone who gets me, the LinkedIn name, the email address for the person, whatever details I need, and I can just constantly stream out outreach in times of the day where I have slotted down. So I think having those tools there and understanding like what else I can do, and then also outsourcing some of my posting and things like that, and a lot of things that were taking away from me making more revenue by outsourcing it to someone else, I was able to get that time back and then grow from there.
So you had some social. Did you correct me if I'm wrong? You had some social media management clients at the start, didn't you? And so and then now you've transitioned into just like ad-based clients with these current clients. What did you find the issues were with kind of doing social media management, and how does that compare to now running ads for the clients instead?
So I still do offer social media management, but now I've just actually signed a contract with someone. I'm going to outsource all of that to this lovely young girl, and she's going to look after that side for me, because my passion's in the ads, and it can be a massive time suck on just scheduling all the posts, getting those all ready. And I guess for me, it's hard because when I'm doing the ads, when I'm building the campaigns, and when I'm doing testing, I can see the numbers and I can see the business growing, which is what I really am passionate about at the end of the day, is, making more revenue for my clients and making them have a more successful business. And it's harder to measure that with organic. I do believe that there is a place for social media management to, convey your brand to your audience, to potential clients, because I still do it too. Before I buy from somewhere, I'll have a look on their social media, have a look at some of their products and things like that. And if I really buy into the brand and the story they're telling, which is told through their profile, then I'm more likely to convert on those ads too.
100%. I know, I couldn't agree with you more. And social media management is just good. What we're talking about here, guys, is like a good organic presence. Social media management is, in essence, what enables us to increase our conversion rates on ads through lifetime value. It's what keeps customers coming back, because they can get behind a brand and, as you said, a story of a company, and they can feel part of this community that the company has created. So I think it's very important that all companies have a good, strong organic presence. And that's why when I started my agency, I worked at a restaurant, and I worked with a furniture store and a bathroom showroom, and all these first 3 clients I offered social media management for. And I found it to be a very time-consuming thing to do by myself, whilst also managing their ads, whilst also doing outreach. And so for me as well, it was one of the first things I outsourced. And if anybody's offering social media management, I always recommend that's one of the first things you outsource, because it's chasing for content, it's writing the posts, it's then scheduling all those posts, all those things that you can pretty easily outsource for not an awful lot of money. So you've definitely done the right thing in doing that. How did you manage to get somebody on board? Where did you find that person?
She actually messaged me a couple months ago asking for a job, and I turned it down at the time because I didn't have the capacity or the revenue to be able to have an employee on. And then she ended up going out and doing her own agency that's purely based around social media management. So then I ended up getting in contact with her and teeing things up from there.
Yeah. Okay. That's nice. So it's interesting, those kind of relationships come full circle. And it's so often like we find that it's people based on their personality rather than the skills, and who the people you want to hire. Like if somebody reaches out to you, they've shown interest in your company, they already know who you are. That person, more likely than not, is going to be better off than somebody you've just found with even further skill set, because their mentality is there and they're in the right place. So you scaled up from like a couple of clients to now at like just over 8,300, which is like pretty much bang on 100K a year in the agency and counting. Now, the one thing, the pivotal thing that I noticed from you, which so many people don't take on board, but you really did, is that you personalize your outreach so incredibly well. Like you personalize and what I'm talking about here, guys, is when you're outreaching someone and you're sending someone a message, it's so important just to put some kind of personal message to that person to start off with, something that you could only say to that one individual person and that you couldn't say to anybody else, right? You're not going to copy and paste it. And I'm not talking about, hey, I love your page, your company is good, your brand is great. Like it just doesn't work. Then you might see that as being personalized, but could you copy and paste that to 10 different people and it mean the exact same thing? Yes. But what Jay did is he listened to that and he went off and he personalized every single message that he sent out to someone, just the first line. And I mean, it speaks in volumes, because so many people don't actually do that. And a lot of people don't do it purely out of laziness, in my opinion. And interestingly, I was having a conversation with my partner who has a social media management company. And we literally got out of the car just before I jumped on this interview. And she at a minute, she's doing a lot of outreach for social media management. And she's really hot on personalizing her outreach. She sent 50 outreach emails the other day and got 6 meetings from it, which is just a huge conversion rate for 50 outreach messages. And I was like, okay, well, how long is it actually taking you to personalize these messages? And she said, well, it took me an hour and 40 minutes to personalize 50 messages. So she already had all of her leads, but it took her an hour and 40 minutes to put together a spreadsheet of all of the pre-personalized messages ready for her to send it out in an email blast. So in that instance, people have no real excuse not to be doing this. And I literally said to her, I was like, Bex, I'll give you 50 quid if you can record on a Loom video, you getting 50 outreach messages, 50 personalized messages in 2 hours. If you can do that, I'll give you 50 quid because I'm going to put it in the Affluent Academy and say, what the hell are you doing, guys? You have no excuse whatsoever. When someone's saying to me, hey, it takes me 15 minutes to personalize a message, you're talking out of your ass. So, how was that for you? Like, why did you take that on board? Why? I mean, presumably it came from like your sales experience, but how was that? How important was that? How did you do that?
I think sales was definitely a big factor on it, and just I know that people buy from people they like or people that they have a connection with. But on top of that too, I get bombarded with Instagram DMs all the time. I'm sure many people watching this get bombarded by just like bulk sent bot messages, or not even bot messages, as people who are VAs that are working for someone else and they're just copy and pasting the same message and sending it to someone. I don't even open it. I just delete it straight away. So I was just taking it from a business owner's perspective as well. As like, what would I want to see on a page to be able to do this? So I always have a subject line that's unique to that business, and then like you said, I always go, hey, I found your business through your blog post that you have about blah 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 blah, and talk about a blog post that's actually on their website, and then I flow through to I love your products, and then I'll talk about one of their products that is specific to their site as well. So when people read it, they're like, oh wow, he actually took the time to go through, learn about our brand, learn about our products as well. And it only takes me, like, I'll have my spreadsheet open, I'll click on it, open up their socials, open up their website, get my messenger open, or I'll get my email open, and I'll just look through their website. It takes me 10 minutes. And then I'll just write up a quick email to them, reaching out, copy and paste in a case study from some of my previous clients just for that social proof in there. And then I'll blast it off. And I looked at some numbers from the last 90 cold emails I sent. I got 3 new clients from that.
Wow.
And I think I got like 6 or 7 looms. And then from those looms, I think I had 4 or 5 meetings, and then that converted into 3 clients. And it doesn't take that long. Like, yes, it's a lot longer than me having a template and just blasting out that template, but the conversion rate is so much higher. And especially if it's like you always talk about, to choose a niche that you're passionate about, so that way you have common ground to talk about in that industry too.
100%. That's so important. Like, so many people like, oh, Jordan, what's the best niche? Like, what's the most profitable niche? And it literally is not. The best niche is the one that you're interested in. So you can actually talk about it and not just be like, oh God, here we go again. Let me just reach out to this person and say something I don't care about. Like, do something you're passionate about. If you're into skiing, reach out to skiing equipment companies. If you like golf, do that. If you have loads of pets, then reach out to pets. Whatever your thing is, you should follow that passion, because we have to be interested in what we're doing. We have to enjoy it. What is it out of interest you enjoy the most out of the agency?
I just love, like, I'm a hunter and a farmer. I love outreach, but I also love account management. I love growing a relationship with my client, watching their business grow as well, because I've gotten a lot of messages from my clients once I've onboarded them and taken them through the process, and we're out of the testing phase. And some clients were doing like $300 a month in sales, and now we're doing 4 or 5K a month in sales, and it's just, I'm so happy for them, and they're so happy about it too. And it just goes from there, really. Like, I guess before, when I first met you, my biggest client niche was hairdressers.
Yeah,
and
fine.
There's not a lot of hair going on up here, so it's
common ground.
That common ground, exactly. But now I talk to a lot of e-commerce businesses in the pet niche, for example, and I've got a little bird, and my partner and I have a little Pomsky, which is half Pomeranian, half Husky. I never knew that existed too until she said she wanted one, so mind blown. For the record as well, the mum's the Husky, so don't worry about anything, guys. But yeah, that's the thing. I think is just finding, like you said, what you're passionate about, and then choosing that as your niche, and then going from there. Because like every niche is a good niche if that's what you're into, And I guess my favorite thing about the agency, coming back full circle again, is just the connections I get to make, because I love talking to people, and then also just helping these businesses as well. So I found that passion when I was working at Yellow and working in the print division, which then moved into the digital marketing side of things for sales too. So that's where I knew that this is like something I'm really passionate about, and luckily I get to enjoy in my agency.
Love that. No, that's amazing, man. I mean, how have you had the chance to? I suppose it's so early days with the point that you've got to. Have you had a chance to reward yourself yet, to see the benefits of your agency? I mean, or is you kind of just like settling in with these new clients and just taking it day by day? Where are you kind of at with that? Because obviously you're coming from last year living in like a box room apartment. What's the score of your life? What's the plan on that side of things?
Oh well, sadly, when I quit my corporate job, I moved back in with my parents. So still living with my parents at the moment. still
Represent.
Yeah, but and one quick side note is the housing market in New Zealand is absolutely crazy. You know, like I think in my area, the average house income to afford the average house price it's over 120K. You know, so I've still got a little while to go there. The housing market is crazy in New Zealand, unfortunately. You know, like a lot of houses here, you won't find anything for less than 700,000.
Yeah, man. I'm meant to be traveling January, February, March next year. I want to do New Zealand as one of the months, and like to get a half decent Airbnb in New Zealand is like 5K for the month. Like if you just want like some little chalet thing, like a couple of rooms, it's like 2,500 a month. I'm like, this is extortionate.
Well, I was paying $400 a week for a tiny 1-bedroom apartment, so that just blows your mind there. And then I think the one that was a bit bigger, but still not by a huge amount, was 430.
So in New Zealand, the 6-figure agency is just the beginning. We need to scale this bad boy up.
Much more, yeah.
We need to scale that bad boy up, which is what you will now do. Ultimately, it's interesting. I made a YouTube video yesterday. It will go up next week. It might be recorded up before this one, actually. Who knows? But on that, I'm talking about the cycle of progressive confidence in your agency, and for us to go from, for example, the point I was when I've got a restaurant client to now where we've got one client that pays us $55,000 a month. Like you don't just jump up from that. In the same sense, you don't start as a junior technician and end as and be a senior software engineer within 1 year. You have to progress your way through those ranks. And so like with yourself now, you've gone from those social media management clients to now an e-com client, to now like a slightly bigger e-com client, and everything that you need, all the thing that you need to do now is just collect case studies. So you can use that as like a token. Every time you get a new case study, it's like, okay, this is my ticket to a bigger client. And then this is my ticket, this is my invite, this is my invite, this is my invite. And you just keep progressing that business. I mean, ultimately, like 12 months from now, you should be having clients which are paying you more than your entire client base is paying you right now just for one. So it's exciting. Like the hardest part is like getting off the ground, and like it's the world is your oyster right now. It's a really exciting place to be in the agency.
Yeah, for sure. And like I definitely, if you had told me a couple months ago that I would be in this position now, I'd be like, oh, like I'd love to, but I don't know, because I set this goal. Like I had it in my first year. I didn't hit it in my first year of business. You know, I think I've got it on the board here. I made 31K in my first year as my business, which is still, you know, like I guess most businesses fail in their first year. So I was happy with that. But now I've already made more than that, and it's not even, you know, that far into this financial year. So it's like we'll just keep chugging it along and go from there.
To tell you one thing, I just remembered, like as we were talking, I remember a big like objection that we crushed together was like I'm pretty sure because you live in New Zealand. Even for anybody who isn't familiar with New Zealand, which you should be, it's not a big country. So, no. But I remember like we had a bit of a debate on like whether or not there'd be many companies like e-commerce based businesses for you to reach out to in New Zealand, didn't we? And then we were shocked. I basically said to Jay, like, I was like, I bet there's more than you think. So I sent this message to our lead generation team, and I said I wanted to put together a big list of like e-com companies in New Zealand, and there were thousands and thousands. So for anybody that's in a country where they're thinking, okay, there probably isn't that many companies to reach out to, there's people sat in their bedrooms with these businesses that you don't even realize they own, but they're established in your country. Like just because they're not on your high street does not mean they are not there. They are, because if you've thought about starting an online business, there's 1,000 other people that have thought about doing it too and starting an e-com store. Are you, to all of your clients, are they just New Zealand based? Have you been reaching out to other countries?
Australia now as well, because you got me some leads for Australia too from your lead gen team. And that's, I think, where it's really taken off, because, for example, the whole population of New Zealand is inside of one big city in Australia. So it just changes the game where it comes to like the amount of e-com clients, the amount of revenue that they're making per year, and just even the amount of people I can reach with my ads for, a specific niche and target those people is like nearly the same population as my whole town for, like, let's say, people who look up pet food, inside of one city.
Okay, sweet. Okay, nice. And you, how have you found, like, are the Australians quite receptive to people from New Zealand? I mean, you're pretty close to each other, because it's interesting to hear like the politics of, sometimes you have somebody from the UK and they can reach out to somebody from the US, and the US guys, they like us Brits. I mean, hopefully you guys do. For any US guys, you like the Brits. But in the US, sometimes when I've seen US agencies reach out to UK businesses and then they don't receive it in the exact same way. So there's so much politics cross country when people are reaching out to different countries. And so I always think, like, it's so important to start off as local as you possibly can and then branch out, because then at least you've got a case study to leverage to kind of push you past that initial preconceived judgment of whoever you're meant to be based on where you live.
Yeah, and I think just like they see the .co.nz and they're like, oh, he's just across the ditch, because if we weren't in COVID, I could jump on a plane and I'll be over in Melbourne in like 2 hours. Right. I remember last year, 2 years ago now, for my friend's 21st birthday, we flew over there and then flew back after, 2 nights out there. So.
That's nothing. Okay, fair. Oh, nice. That's good to know. Maybe I should stay in Australia then next year and then fly over to New Zealand instead.
We'll see how it goes, because you'd have to get a slot in managed isolation quarantine, and that's a hard thing to come by. And then I think it's like $3,000 you have to pay, and then you're locked up for 2 weeks as well.
Surely by March it'll be all right.
Who knows? We'll have to wait and see what happens. God.
No good. If it's anything like us, you'll be in it for a little while.
Yeah, for sure. Only Auntie Cindy knows as well. We call our president our Auntie Cindy.
Oh no.
Just in it.
So just bringing it back to the agency quickly, just before we round off, I just want to get an idea of what your plan is now. So you're making 6 figures in the agency. Where do you see the most sensible path is moving forward? I mean, I imagine you are getting pretty tight with service delivery. I know you're onboarding a couple of clients. I don't know if it was last week or this week. So I imagine service delivery is going to be getting pretty tight. What does that look like? What's your hiring schedule? Are you going to be continuing to do the outreach? What is your plan now to continue growing? And do you have the desire to continue growing it, or are you happy at the point you're at?
100%. I definitely want to grow my agency. My next short-term goal is to get someone on full-time, someone local in New Zealand as well, who's already an experienced media buyer, get them on board, and really just like, I'd like to grow with them. Yes, I'm going to take a hit on my own paycheck, but I feel like it's like we've had a chat about before as well. It's going to be a lot more scalable to have someone on board who's actually part of the team rather than just a contractor instead. So, and I always want to be the face of the company. I always want to be interacting with our clients and reaching out to new clients too. So yeah, I'd ideally like someone to look after the fulfillment side of things while I have a look at the hunting and the farming side of things.
No, that sounds good. It's crazy, because when you get to that point and you have some, like, really all an agency needs is just sales, fulfillment, and just like a bit of management. So like at the point you're at, you literally do just need an ad manager to take on your service delivery and do it well. I mean, my advice to you would be hire someone based on their personality rather than their skills, because a very, very good Facebook ad buyer will be very expensive to hire anyway. So I would hire someone like Tom and Seb. When we hired them, they had basic knowledge of Facebook ads, but we nurtured them over time. So like on every Monday and every Thursday, Joe jumps on a call. He literally stays on a call for the entire day if he has to. But with everyone involved, he goes through every single client ad account that we've got, even the ones that, let's say, Tom will have to sit there for Seb's ad account still, so they can learn from each other. And he will almost micromanage that process and say, look, I think we should change this. I think we should tweak this. I think we should adapt this. And over the course of a couple of months, they got absolutely rocket, and they're unbelievable now. Like they now know Facebook ads, TikTok ads, YouTube ads, like Snapchat ads. They can do absolutely everything. And they literally do all of that for some of our clients. But when we first had them, they really just knew how to do the basics of Facebook advertising. Seb only had just come through the Learn Ads Facebook ad course. But the key was that they were a good cultural fit. and that they wanted to be part of the company. So I think ultimately that's what you need to focus on with that kind of a person, is just get that cultural fit. Someone that you just don't want to kill every day when you're working with them.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely take that on board and go from there. And I guess I'll flick you a message if I need any updates when it comes to trying to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you like that system on kind of how we manage that and whatever, and like the onboarding process. So that's all good. We've got contracts and everything as well. So what would you say to somebody who was in your position like 3 months ago? Maybe they've kind of got their feet off the ground, but they're kind of struggling. They're battling between their first couple of clients, really struggling to manage outreach, a little bit of lack of motivation, but also trying to fulfill a service, kind of at this position where they don't really know what they need to do to get past that. What would you say, what would your advice be to somebody who's in that kind of position, who's at a bit of a wall?
I'd definitely say that, like, good old Winston Churchill puts it well in the sense of, I can only see as far as I can because I stand upon the shoulders of giants. So I definitely think that my agency has been able to scale as quickly as it did because I signed up to the Affluent Academy, because I signed up for mentorship as well. I was able to get some good tools. I was able to put some things behind me. And I guess, like, if you're suffering with self-limiting belief as well, the more knowledge and the more support and tools you have to achieve your goal, the less likely that is to take hold of you. Because I think that's definitely what kills a lot of agencies at the start, is just that, oh, like, why should I be able to do it? And just like getting inside of your own head, and you're your biggest worst enemy. So if there's one thing I can say, is that find a good mentor, find a good program, and just give it a go.
Yeah. 100%. Just need to get in. You just need a process. I think one thing that people massively underestimate, again, something I was talking to my partner about yesterday, is like being part of a community is like of other people. Like, and like, for example, I think what's been so beneficial, even to like the other guys, like let's say the other guys who are in this small mentorship group that you were in, like, it's seeing you do well is like, we don't even know it, but that would be the biggest push for those guys who are looking at you and they're like, Jesus, man, like I was in Jay's position when Jay started. Now Jay's doing this and I'm doing this. And it's like, seeing that is like, I need to like fire up my ass, but also seeing people who are also failing as well, or struggling, or having a bad day or whatever. There's equally, if not more important, actually. I think seeing failure is more important than seeing success, because sometimes we can compare ourselves to success and think that we're inadequate, when in reality, like, we're just not seeing that person is failing forward as well. But I think we should never underestimate joining a community. If you don't have the funds to invest into joining a program, that's fine. There are so many Facebook groups out there. Yeah, they may not be as well moderated, and yes, there might be some spam, but there's going to be some other genuine people in there just like you, who's just trying to find another person who's on the same journey as them. Join those groups, engage those people, make friends in your industry, and you can fail with someone. I think that's the most important thing. Like, we've experienced sales jobs where like we can bitch to our friend on lunch that we've had a really bad day, and we can get through that, right? And you just do that over years, and you just become hardened to it. But like, it's a lonely game in entrepreneurship. So if you don't already have what we had when we first started, that's tough, like doing that on your own. So you need people around you.
Yeah, like, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've struggled with, is just the loneliness side of things. Because I've always, in a call center, or even when you're working door to door, you have a team, you have people that you like, that camaraderie. But I feel sometimes it can be quite isolating being an agency owner as you're starting, as you're scaling up, especially if there's people that, don't believe in you, friends and family or whatever it may be, that have the limiting of the beliefs and kind of trying to put that on you. It can be quite a lonely journey. But like, I think outreach is your best friend at the end of the day. You could make a million excuses as to why to not do it, but if you just slot in 2 hours a day, an hour a day, even just half an hour a day, and just get into that routine of doing an outreach, it doesn't have to be you have to outreach to 50 clients. Just start with 5 emails a day or 5 DMs, and just start to scale it from there. Like, make it sustainable. I think a lot of people be like, yeah, I'm going to do 50 emails today, and then do 50 emails and feel completely burnt out and not want to do it ever again.
They resent it.
Yeah, and then resent it. But you just got to love the process, start small, and just build from there.
Great advice, man. I couldn't agree more. Jay, thanks so much for doing this today, man. If people want to follow your journey and they want to reach out and want to say hi, if they've got any questions at all, what are the best places for them to find you? What platforms? I'll put links in the description as well.
choice. Just check out my agency Facebook page, I guess, Social Gorilla NZ. And yeah, my website, www.socialgorilla.co.nz. And that's basically where you can find me.
Nice, cool, happy days. All right, then, man. Thanks so much. Well, I'll catch up with you, no doubt. Let's continue to stay in touch and let's see how you're getting on. Let's get you scaled from one figure of 600K. Let's get you scaled to multiple 6 figures. Let's get those profiting in the 6 figures. Let's get this bad boy going. I'm excited for you. You're at the pivotal moment.
Cheers, Jordan. Thanks for having me on as well, and thanks for all the guidance. Really appreciate it.
Amazing. Speak soon, Jay. Thank you.